For the latest in strategic affairs, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Click the bell icon for updates.
Hello and welcome to Strat News Global. Over the past year and a half nearly since the Ukraine war began, the churn in global affairs and alignments and realignments that have been taking place across the globe is drawing attention for everyone. There are new policies being adopted by different countries, and everyone seems to be hedging their bets, as it happened last week with Saudi Arabia, UAE, India, and the United States meeting in Saudi Arabia to chart out a roadmap for their added cooperation or deepening the cooperation between these countries. That's the subject of this week's Simply Nitin. I'm Nitin Gokhale. So when I look back at February 2022, when Russia invaded Ukraine and started the special operations in Ukraine, countries have been scrambling to secure their interests across the globe. First, of course, there was the alignment that happened between the NATO and countries like Taiwan and South Korea, which support Ukraine against Russia. India is in a very difficult position, doesn't want to take sides, and therefore has been playing neutral as far as possible, while expressing its concerns, conveying its concerns to Russia, as we know. And China has also tried to balance its interest across the globe, but its friendship or special relationship with Russia. That, of course, is part of the fallout of the Russia-Ukraine war. But if you look around the globe from west to east, the Quad countries like Japan, India, Australia, and the United States have increased their summit meetings, have increased their constant interactions, and joint statements that are coming out from these countries is making everyone sit up and see that Quad has suddenly become an active group of nations, which seems like a counterweight to the Chinese hegemony in Western Pacific or in the Indo-Pacific. But the biggest surprise was China pulling off a mediating role between Iran and Saudi Arabia, sworn enemies for a long time, and with no meeting point, suddenly China, which had negligible presence in the Gulf or in the Middle East, seems to be playing peace broker. And they held this meeting between Saudi Arabia and Iran and have brokered a deal which might have huge ramifications for the region itself, which is not without its uncertainties, without its violence for a long time. That, of course, came on the back of what is called the West Asian Quad, which is I2U2, as described by some other people, which is India, Israel, United States, and United Arab Emirates, which had formed an alliance or had decided to cooperate on their different prospects and different fields, which they thought will give them a leverage across the region from Israel to going right up to east of India, that is in the ASEAN region. But China is not far behind, as we saw. As the Chinese got into Middle East in a big way, as I mentioned, because of the Iran-Saudi Arabia deal, comes the news on May 7th that US National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan met with his Indian counterpart Ajit Doval, the NSA of UAE, and Prince Mohammed bin Salman of Saudi Arabia, who is, of course, the driving force in Saudi Arabia of the tectonic changes that are coming in Saudi Arabia in terms of social reforms, economic reforms, and moving away from its dependence on income from oil. The oil-rich countries are moving away because they know it's a finite resource, and therefore they are looking at how to generate revenue going forward. And therefore, this meeting of the NSAs of these four countries earlier this week, or actually late last week, one would say on the Sunday of last week, the meeting assumes significance because this is an attempt by the United States to pose a counter to China and Russia in the Middle East. And the partners they have chosen to do this are interesting. India, which has huge stakes in the Gulf. Remember, there are over 7.5 million expat Indians working and residing in the Gulf states of UAE, Bahrain, Saudi Arabia, Oman, and Qatar and Kuwait. And therefore, India has huge stakes because these Indians or people of Indian origin also send huge remittances back. These countries are also dependent on the Indian workforce. And India has gained traction in these countries over the past 7-8 years. In fact, the UAE and Saudi Arabian outreach to India has actually been the best in the past 3 decades or so, where Prime Minister Narendra Modi, who one would have thought would not be an acceptable leader given his image as a strong man and as a Hindu nationalist leader, he wouldn't get any traction in these countries which are Islamic and who are also important members of the OIC, the Organization of Islamic Countries. But that hasn't happened. In fact, he's got more traction, more cooperation, more acceptability amongst these countries because they have become more pragmatic. It is not about religion anymore in these countries, but it's about national interests. It's about their own survival and the way they can develop going forward by cooperating with different countries. They have money right now and they want to invest that money into countries which are stable, countries which can give them returns, and they see India as a good destination. United States, which appeared to have been sidelined by China in that Iran-Saudi Arabia deal, is also trying to make sure that it doesn't lose ground, it doesn't lose the influence in these countries or in this region. And that is why this NSA's meeting that happened. But the interesting point here is India a strong player there, or it's still a marginal player in the Middle East and the Gulf countries? There are contradictory views on this. Going by some critics of India's policy in these countries where I2U2 hasn't succeeded, where I2U2 remains largely on paper because of interministerial wrangling in India, where the Commerce Ministry does not agree to what the External Affairs Ministry wants. The External Affairs Ministry's proposals are not also acceptable to other line ministries like electricity or the energy mix that India wants to move away from the fossil fuels to renewables. All that becomes a problem because of internal wranglings in India, and I2U2 therefore has not taken off the way everyone expected. But there are others who say that India's interests remain supreme in the minds of the leaders of UAE and Saudi Arabia, and India's relationship with Iran is also not as bad as people would like to believe, because India's NSA Ajit Doval was also in Iran before this meeting took place in Saudi Arabia. So India is also trying to pull its weight there, in fact punch above its weight sometimes. But the interesting part of that NSA's meeting to me was not about the security aspects, which are always taken care of. This is always at the back of everybody's mind. But the connectivity proposals which apparently came there, in which it was decided that the railway lines that are being built across the Middle East will be linked with different ports, and the Indian ports like the Western Indian ports like Mumbai and Porbandar and then also coming to Chennai on the East Coast. So some of that I found interesting because the emphasis is shifting from security to trade and connectivity. So there is the Chabahar port which India has partly financed and is building together with Iran, which will connect the Central Asian republics to India and to rest of the countries in the east of Iran or into Europe. that was the interesting part as far as these meetings are concerned. In fact, the readout by the NSA of US, Jake Sullivan, says he met the Saudi Prime Minister and Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. They held bilateral meetings on the sidelines of this multilateral meeting. And Jake Sullivan, in fact, he said he looks forward to consulting with Ajit Doval on the sidelines of the Quad meeting, which is going to take place later this month, in the third week of May in Sydney, in Australia. Before that, there is a G7 meeting happening in Hiroshima, where India will be represented by Prime Minister Narendra Modi, because India is an invitee. And of course, the consolidation of the peace in Yemen was also discussed between US and Saudi Arabia, where the ongoing UN efforts are being being seen as getting to some point where there is an outcome, where there's peace will prevail and war will come to a close. And other issues, of course, which have happened. The situation in Sudan became one of the important talking points, I think, between these national security advisors. And going forward, everybody decided that the change of strategic outlook in the Middle East, where China is trying to make further inroads from what it has been so far been able to do, makes the region very interesting as far as power play between different groups and different countries are concerned. And that's where I think we need to keep our eyes on the ball and bring to you once in a while an update on these significant but significant developments that take place between nations, which seem very innocuous but are of greater significance, greater importance than we like to believe at this point in time. But when we look back after, say, 10 years, we'll realize that this meeting was the beginning of a shift, of a tectonic shift or a paradigm shift in the way nations deal with each other. That's why this program, that's why the focus on the meeting of the NSAs in Saudi Arabia. That's all I have this week. Do keep watching Strat News Global, and of course, keep sending your feedback and comments, which are always welcome. I have consistently said this, and this program actually is an outcome of one of the suggestions that we got, that why don't you concentrate on the meeting of the NSAs in Saudi Arabia, where India was involved. So I hope whoever made that suggestion sees this program again and gives us further suggestions for other such programs or other such topics that we could focus on. For the time being, it's goodbye.